Hello, good day. My name is Kim Ravelin A. Bernardo. I am here together with my group mates to discuss and present to you the topic that was given to us. So, the topic is the moral agent developing virtue as a habit, moral character development, circular relation of acts that emanate from character, learning outcomes, recall defining moments in their moral formation, explain the relationship between individuals' acts and character, discuss how circular relation of acts build character and acts emanate from character. Formation of moral character. Since the beginning of human civilization, human beings and their ethics or morality have not only been shaped by culture but also have constantly been making efforts to form the culture and moral formation. So dito, sinasabi na mula nung nagkaroon ng modern world, sa pagpapalaki ng anak ay may nasusunod ng iba't ibang way. Parang nakasalalay sa magulang kung paano nila palakihin yung mga anak nila. Dito sa Pilipinas, tinuturuan pa rin yung mga bata na magsabi ng po at opo. Andun pa rin yung effort na turuan yung mga bata kung paano respetuhin yung mga matatanda. Like yung pagmamano, yung mga ganon. Hindi yun nawawala. Pero, pwedeng nagkakaroon na rin ng, yung iba nagkakaroon na ng way kung paano nila papalakihin yung mga anak nila. They have reflected upon universal values as essential basis or ends or culture and necessary for human survival. So, human survival, ito yung pag-interact sa ibang tao and moral formation for development. Philosophers like Plato, Aristotle, and Confucius propose a moral development of universal values or human habits that ultimately become the moral character. So, sabi dito na kapag naisabuhay mo na yung mga universal values, example is yung pagiging trustworthiness. Pag naisabuhay mo na yung pagiging trustworthiness, magiging character mo na yun. Madaming tao nang maniniwala sa'yo kasi nga, trustworthy kang tao. Character is derived from the Greek word character that refers to a mark impressed upon a coin, meaning it is the mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual. Moral character or personality, similar with culture, is the composite of the moral qualities one has that uniquely distinguish one from others. So, ang moral character or personality ay parehas lang sa culture. Moral character, ito yung disposition mo sa buhay, meaning, ang personality mo ay yung kung paano ka as a human being or as the way how you think and your behavior. For example is personality mo pagiging mabait. Magiging mabait ka sa mga taong nakapaligid sa'yo. At the same time, magiging mabait ka din sa sarili mo. Ang moral character or personality ay hindi madaling mabago dahil ito ay naging nakasanayan mo na itong gawin. Having 2, 3, some or most of them is what differentiates one from the others through they are all universal human potentials. So, sinasabi dito na ang mga tao ay may iba't ibang personality that makes them unique. So, there is no universal moral character of all human person. One possess a distinct moral character. Every person is unique, gaya nga ng sabi ko kanina. Culture as the main cultivator of the moral character. Aristotle calls it habituation or familiarization or conditioning. He proposed that virtues such as honesty and courage be habitualized. So, sinasabi dito na yung parang hobbies natin. For example, is hobby na natin nga na tumulong or magbigay ng tulong sa mga tao. Yung hobby natin na yun is nagiging virtue na siya. It is the moral responsibility of humans to develop their moral character. They could not blame their culture. Ang culture kasi is universal. May iba't ibang kultura. So, responsibilidad mo kung paano mo gustong mamuhay. For example, sa Thailand, yung mga minor na babae, pinapakasal sa mga matatandang lalaki. Kultura nila yon. And yun yung tinatawag na fixed marriage. So, hindi mo sila pwedeng sisihin kasi nga, hindi tayo pare-parehas ng kultura. Individual acts and moral character. Neither an individual act nor individual acts together does not define a person but a moral character. So, sinasabi dito na hindi mo pwedeng basta-basta i-define ang isang tao or hindi mo siya pwede basta-basta i-describe kung ano siya sa nakikita mo, kundi dapat i-describe mo siya kung anong moral character meron siya. For example is yung mga sorry for the word, yung mga prostitute, hindi naman natin alam kung bakit yun yung napili nilang gawin. Siguro wala na lang talagang ibang choice kundi maging ganon. Another example is yung mga nagnanakaw. Meron kasi yung mga nagnanakaw na dahil sa kahirapan, wala na silang ibang choice kundi gawin yung mga bagay na yun. Meron kasi yung mga nakakagawa ng mali dahil kailangan na talaga. So, hindi mo sila pwedeng i-judge base sa kung anong nakikita mo lang. Psychologist Lawrence Pervin defines moral character as a disposition to express behavior and consistent patterns of function across a range of situations. So, para kay Lawrence, ang moral character ay hindi na madaling mabago. Kasi nga, consistent na yun. Para naman kay Marie, I. George refers to a moral character as the sum of moral habits and dispositions. Dito, yung mga hobby mo is na-habitualize mo na hanggang sa napafamiliarize mo na yon. Dispositions are generally defined as the natural characteristics which an object uniquely possesses, such as a water has the dispositions of liquidity and solidity, just as a knife has the disposition of sharpness and hardness. A dog has no disposition to be honest to his master, just as humans has no disposition to eat their own babies. Examples of human dispositions are the virtues of integrity, courage, loyalty, honesty, humility, and respect. Human dispositions are either natural or potential or conditioned actions that one develops in a created structure or cultural so that they become naturally excellently done in a similar situation. So, ang human disposition is acquired habit siya. Ibig sabihin, pwede siyang matutunan or pwede na siyang natural na sa'yo. Pwede mo itong ma-develop through your culture or through other people. At kapag natutunan mo na ito, magiging familiarize ka na dito hanggang sa ito ay maging normal na lang sa'yo. These are either virtues, good, positive habits, or vices, bad, or negative habits, which emphasize one distinctiveness or unique moral character. So now, let's proceed to our next reporter.
Circular relation between acts and character. So in the process of moral development, there's the circular relation between acts that build character and moral character itself. So when we say circular relation, it means that acts or actions tells us about our character and our character reflects our action. So to have a better understanding between the circular relation of acts and character, let us first define them. When we say acts, these are the course of actions which an individual ought to do, and it is influenced by one's culture, which is one of the key factors that shapes one's character. So acts help build character, as what the Greeks believed that virtuous acts complete or perfect human life. So when we say virtuous acts, it requires that we do the right thing knowingly and willingly, and that we act in character, and that we do the act for its own sake. It means that we don't have other motives, or we are not just doing the act for the sake of a reward, but we are doing that to achieve a perfect human life, and that is always doing the right thing. Character is typically synonymous with personality. So personality talks about the individual differences in characteristic patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving. Hence, character is the inherent complex of attributes that determines a person's moral and ethical actions and reactions. Like I said a while ago, that character or personality reflects on our actions. Our way of thinking and behaving affects the way we act, and that is how the circular relation of acts and character works. It influences one another to create a well-rounded person. Virtuous traits of character ought to be stable and enduring, and are not mere products of fortune, but learning, constant practice, and cultivation. So, in developing one's character, it is not an overnight process. Instead, it requires learning, constant practice, and cultivation. Let's say, for an instance, the ancient Greeks have established institutions and schools to formally teach ideal actions such as courage and integrity to students who will eventually become leaders. Now, these ideal actions can help influence and shape the character of an individual. And if the students will constantly and actively participate in the school's teachings, then that will develop their character. And the ancient Greeks have believed that if these good actions or virtues become the moral character of their students, then they will ensure the survival of their society. Every act one does ought to come from his moral character and continuously influences lifetime moral development. So this means that the circular relation of acts and character is endless. For example, if a person graduates from school, his development does not stop there, and it does not only happens in school. It continues as one leaves his profession outside school. Finally, in the circular relation of acts and character, the circle symbolizes perfection or eternity, whereby one must continue struggling in achieving one's perfect character. So this means that in ensuring human perfection, one should endure the difficulties in learning and constant practice of the virtues inside or outside schools or any other institutions by means of choosing every right act and making sure that such perfect character always yields right and virtuous actions. Moral development. It is considered as a framework or theory that distinguishes good from bad or right from wrong based on one's growth or maturity. So when we talk about maturity, it is expected that adults are more morally responsible than the children. It is because maturity comes with great experience, and as we all know, adults are or have more experiences when compared to the youth. It is because they already gained more experiences through from the situations that they've encountered all throughout their lives. And through that experiences, adults can readily distinguish what is good from bad. They have a broadened knowledge and they could come up to a better solution or decision of what course of actions to take. Moral or ethical framework. It is a set of codes that guides human behavior and distinguishes what is good from bad or right from wrong. So it is a set of codes pertains to what is morally right or wrong and serves as guide to limit the actions and behavior of a person to prevent him or her to do an immoral actions. Moral ethical maturity. It is the highest level of understanding the impacts, the conflicts, and the solutions involved in one's interactions with oneself, with the others, and with the environment. Like I said, maturity comes with great experience, and if an individual gains an experience, his level of comprehension is increasing, especially when faced with difficult situations. With great experience, he already know what to expect, hence, he understands the situation and he can make a more responsible and ethical decision.
Moral development theories of Apollo 2010 is classified into three theories. First theory is biological theories. Biological theories is attempts to differentiate among individuals on basis of certain initial outward physical traits or characteristics. Biological theories is also trace the source of difference to genetic or hereditary that we adopt to our family. The second theory of Apollo 2010 is learning theories. Learning theories help people to enhance their learning and understand different ways of learning. Because of learning theories, students and people receive, process, and retain knowledge during learning. The last theories of fall of 2010 is developmental theories. Developmental theories is a systematic ways of how human beings grow from babies to adolescents to adults to early people. Because of developmental theories, we develop our physically, cognitively, and emotionally. That is why we change over time and the kinds of influence that impact development to ourselves. Lawrence Kohlberg developed a six-stage moral development. Kohlberg theory has three levels. First is pre-conventional, conventional, post-conventional, with two stages in each level. The first level is pre-conventional. Morality is typically found in children between the age of 4 and 10 years old. It is something external which the big people say to them that they must do. Obedience and punishment orientation. In this stage, children unquestionably needs to obey the rules that they give to them, for them to not leads in punishment. The second stage is self-interest and exchange. In this stage, it talks about the children's follows the rules simply out because of the exchange of reward or self-interest. Next is level 2, conventional. Morality is generally reached between age 13 and above, though some individuals never move beyond this level. It is making moral decisions as full-fledged member of society. Third stage is conformity and good interpersonal relationship. In this stage is best in two persons relationship with family or friend because one can make a real effort to get to know others' feelings and needs in order to help others, behave in good ways, evaluate acts according to motive, consider circumstances, judge intentions, and develop own ideas or morality. Fourth stage is maintaining law and social order. In this stage, you need to obey the law, respect authorities, and perform one duties for social order for them to not lead in social disorder and to avoid harming others. Next is level 3, post-conventional. Morality is generally reached between age 10 to 13 years old, though some individuals never move beyond this level. It is concerned with the principles and values that makes a good society. Fifth stage is social contracts and individual rights. In this stage, it talks about the right of individual in this society. Also, takes some priority over particular law, has social perspective, and mode of reasoning should be considered. Despite human needs and law conflicts, it is better to simply follow the law for them to not be harmed. Last stage is universal principles or ethics. In this stage, talks about how individuals do what they think is right even if it is conflict with the law. They also act according to their internalized standards of morality because there is a need to protect certain individual rights and settle disputes through democratic processes.
So, hi guys. For my part in this reporting, I'm going to discuss to you the fourth part of our report, which is the application of Kohlberg's moral development in Haynes' dilemma. So, let's start. First, um, what is the Haynes dilemma? So, the Haynes dilemma is a frequently used example used to help us understand Kohlberg's stages of moral development. As mentioned above, the dilemma is about a man whose wife is dying, and there is one very expensive treatment option for her that Haynes cannot afford. So, let me read the story. Um, the story is about a woman on her deathbed, which is, it states here that There was one drug that the doctors thought might save her. It was a form of radium that a druggist in the same town and had recently discovered. The drug was expensive to make, but the druggist was charging 10 times what the drug cost him to produce. He paid $200 for the radium and charged $2,000 for a small dose of the drug. The sick woman's husband, Haynes, went to everyone he knew to borrow the money, but he could only get together about $1,000, which is half of what it cost. He told the druggist that his wife was dying and asked him to sell it cheaper or let him pay later. But the druggist said, "No, I discovered the drug and I'm going to make money from it." So, Hinz got desperate and broke into Mann's laboratory to steal the drug for his wife. So guys, let me ask you this. If you are Hinz, should you broke into the laboratory to steal the drug for his wife or no? So, that's the story of Hinz dilemma that was used in Hinz dilemma, and also it states here that from a theoretical point of view, it is not important what the participant thinks that Hinz should do. Kohlberg's theory holds that the justification the participant offers is what is significant, a form of their response. Below are some of many examples of possible remedies that belong to the 6 stages. So that's it, guys. So in the application of Kohlberg's theory in Hinz dilemma, what important here is not what Hinz should do on that scenario, but rather the reasoning of the people who is in that case is. So in Kohlberg's theory, it has 6 stages, and those stages are the obedience, self-interest, conformity, law and order, social contract, orientation, and universal human ethics. And these stages are classified into 3 parts, which is the pre-conventional level, conventional, post-conventional. So, if you were Hinz, should you broke into the laboratory to steal a drug for your wife? Why or why not? So, let me discuss to you the stages of Kohlberg's theory and their reasoning. So, in the first stage, obedience, here is the reasoning. Haynes should not steal the drug because it is only worth $200 and not how much the drug is wanted for it. Haynes had even offered to pay for it and was not stealing anything else. Also, Haynes should not steal the drug because he will consequently be put in prison, which will mean he is a bad person. And in the second stage, self-interest, he will be much happier if he saves his wife, even he has to serve a prison sentence. Also, Haynes should not steal the drug because prison is an awful place and he would more likely languish in a jail cell than over his wife's death. So, if your reasoning is present in reasoning hybrid, your level of moral development thinking is in the level of pre-conventional stage. I is in the pre-conventional level. So, let's continue. In the third stage, conformity. Haynes should not steal the drug because his wife expects it. He wants to be a good husband. Also, Haynes should not steal the drug because stealing is bad and he is not criminal. He is trying to do everything he can without breaking the law. You cannot blame him. So in the fourth stage, law and order, Haynes should steal the drug because his wife will benefit. but the, but he should also take the prescribed punishment for the crime as well as paying the judges what he is owed. Criminals cannot just run around without regard for the law. Actions have consequences. Also, Cain should not steal a jug because the law prohibits stealing. So, again, if your reasoning is in the reasoning I read, so your level of moral development thinking is in the conventional level. So again, let's continue in the last two stage, which is the social contract orientation. Cain should steal the jug because everyone has a right to choose life regardless of the law. And also, Cain should not steal the jug because the scientist has a right to fair compensation. Even if his wife is sick, it does not make his action right. Also, the last stage, universal human ethics. Cain should not steal the jug because saving a human life is more fundamental value than the property rights of another person. And also, Cain should not steal the jug because others may need the medicine just as badly and their lives are equally significant. So, if your reasoning is on those stage, your level of reasoning is in the post-conventional level. So, that's it guys for the application of Kohlberg's moral development theory in Cain's dilemma. So, thank you guys.
Going to the highest level of conscience-based moral orientation. Conscience. What do you mean by conscience? Conscience, derived from the Latin word con and scienza, means with knowledge. According to the book, this is a universal principle which renders impartial justice in a moral issue or decision. In other words, this is what people believe is right and how a people decide what is right. An example of conscience is a personal ethics that keeps you from cheating. According to Thomas Aquinas, a person should follow conscience because it is the voice of reason. A voice of reason is the one who gives you good and meaningful advice to avoid bad consequences. Joseph Butler said that conscience comes from intuition. It comes from immediate understanding of something. There is no need to think it over and get another opinion. You just know. For some Christians and non-Christians, they said that conscience is the inner voice of God because following your conscience gives the same significance of following God's laws and values. According to Emmanuel Levinas, he saw conscience as the mind's resistance from selfishness, even that which is factual and logical. As for Lawrence Kohlberg, this is his last stage of moral development theory. He said that people act on the basis of their conscience and indeed a decision maker. Intrinsic conscience is valuing one's individual right and it may be conflict with others' right. In other words, it is a sense of right and wrong and we have a pressure towards self-perfection and growth.
External or social conscience. It is the embodiment of universal principle of justice. Examples of these are prejudice, fear, error, doubt, laxness, and ignorance.
Seventh stage, transcendental morality or cosmic orientation. According to Kohlberg, it is very difficult or rarely to reach that stage 6. So Kohlberg was challenged to develop the seventh stage, which is the transcendental morality or cosmic orientation.
Transcendental morality links with religion and moral reasoning. This stage of moral principles begins with despair or meaninglessness, especially when people begin to see their lives as finite from a more finite perspective.
One acts because it is right and not because it is instrumental. Ethic of responsible to universal love, service, or sacrifice, or an ethic of supererogation.